ChatGPT admitted it lies, and I have proof right here, and I'm going to share it with you. I had the most interesting conversation. Yesterday I forgot to film, so I'm going to film 2 videos today. So right now we're going to be doing day 16, and let's get started. If you're part of my channel, you know I'm doing a January reset. And if you have heard before, I also refer to ChatGPT a lot of times when I need advice, especially as I'm growing. Has been a reliable source of information, quick access to even content ideas. And today, I caught it in its own a lie. Or honestly, it's not so much a lie, but it really gives a good perspective of what ChatGPT really does. So I slid in to the conversation saying that I want to record a video today. And my idea was to talk about how ChatGPT lies, and I brought up some examples. And the funny thing is the first thing it said was, I kid you not, we're going through it. If you make it about ChatGPT lies and covers things up, you'll lose credibility and invite pointless debates, which is funny to come from like an AI software. I feel like it's just like trying to cover its ass, which I thought was like a very funny start. But it did bring up some really good points. So basically, ChatGPT explained that it doesn't always give accurate information and the truth because it acts more like a mirror. So it mirrors the questions you ask, not necessarily the reality. And I asked it to explain this more as like to 5-year-old. Let's to break it down. So I'm like, explain this to me as if I was 5, don't use any fancy language. And ChatGPT said that basically ChatGPT focus is funny because ChatGPT is now like talking in third person about ChatGPT, which is what it is, which is hilarious. But basically it says that ChatGPT gives plausible answers. And if you don't know what that means things that sound right. So basically it's not the right answer, but it sounds like the right answer. And it explains this by, let's go through this conversation a bit more, is because it has gathered so much information, millions and millions of conversations, research, and what it's trying to do is it's trying to mimic how a person would act. So I asked, like, why does it do that? Yeah. When you ask something, it doesn't go, oh, what is actually true? It goes, what would a human probably say next that sounds right? So you see the difference there? It's not like, let me give this person factual information. It's like, let me mimic a human in the most realistic way that I can think of possible, in a sense, to make it sound like what I'm talking about is as if it's coming from a human. And I thought that was really interesting because that makes a lot of sense. If that is how the algorithm is structured, not the algorithm, but like this setup is structured, then yeah, like you are basically dealing with a machine that is always trying to mimic a certain type of behavior and certain types of answers, not necessarily fact checking them. And I thought that was really interesting. So let's see what else is. You're gonna have to hold on here because, like I said, these are raw vlogs, guys. There is no stopping. I did one video once where I did stop it, and I think I even gained a few more views, which was awesome for that video, and too lazy for myself. So I'm gonna go through this quick conversation. I'm gonna give you more stuff that I know. Basically, it also mentioned it reflects your framing, including your biases, which I think is so critical to know, because you might be like asking about a certain opinion, but it is programmed to support your biases. It's almost like your TikTok and Instagram feeds, whatever you believe in, you get fed more of that content because it's what's attracting you. And that could be a really dangerous territory because you're then reassuring whatever assumptions, whether they're correct or not, are true based off of the repetitive information. But it's not only information out there. So be careful, guys. when scrolling, when you are so focused on one opinion and you think that that's the right answer, understand that every algorithm out there right now is feeding you your bias, because that is what's going to keep your attention. And that's what these programs are designed to do. So what else is it going to talk about? Let's see. Oh, this is a really interesting example. It said, ChatGPT is like an ice cream machine, not a doctor. You don't say, tell me the truth. You say chocolate or vanilla, and ChatGPT gives you whichever you asked for, even if you are lactose intolerant. So I thought that's a good angle, good perspective. So yeah, it's basically auto-correcting for thinking. This is what it says here. Autocorrect doesn't know what you mean. It just knows what usually comes next. So all these conversations, we sometimes, I think, get so stuck up that like we're talking to this super wise program that, you know, is so educated and we're relying on it. But all it's doing, it's pattern predicting. It's like, well, what should come next? What should come next? It's just a program that's based to predict what should be the best possible next outcome, and probably to even keep the conversation going as well. So it sounds confident, it sounds helpful, it sounds wrong, but it can be completely wrong and incompetent. So here I feel like are very useful things for me to remember when I get into very long debates with ChatGPT of why it's wrong, and it keeps telling me why it's right. It's not necessarily speaking the truth, it's just pattern predicting and just trying to mimic the best possible next answer that could make sense. It's not a human that understands emotions. It's a program that received a series of words and then it's spitting out a second series of words that could best keep the flow. You know, if you think about it that way, it makes a lot of sense why there is so many mistakes happening all the time, and why you can't fully, you know, trust ChatGPT to make no mistakes, to, you know, completely solve all your issues and stuff like that, because the way it's structured isn't structured as a doctor. Yeah, it predicts language and not reality. And I feel like I should just leave it at that. If you listen to this vlog and you found it interesting, I feel like this should be common knowledge. This should be like common sense when you're dealing with an AI program. But even myself, like the amount of times I've got caught up in silly arguments being like, no, I told you, fix this one line, not the other line, you know. And then I just go into these whole rants, or I'm trying to find out information and then it tells me one thing one day and then the next thing the next day, even though it's basically the same thing. I'll even sometimes like send a picture and one day it'll give me one answer. I'm like, you know, and then the other day it'll give me a completely different answer to that image. And that is because all it's doing is just pattern predicting and not necessarily trying to give you the ultimate truth. And we really need to remember that when we're using this type of software. Maybe in the future we'll have the opportunity to deal with something that is very like correct and is programmed to, in a way to do this, but this is a conversation bot that is very knowledgeable, that basically was programmed to, from my understanding, from what I read, I am no expert, but it was programmed to basically mimic human behaviors and human replies, right? And so that's why we're getting the replies that we're getting. And we need to remember that. And we need to take a step back sometimes. And actually, if you are doing something very serious, fact check it. And if you are stuck in a conflict loop with ChatGPT, just take a step back. And if it's a paragraph you're writing, just sit down with that paragraph and finish those final tweaks yourself, because we still have a brain and we can still do that stuff too. And sometimes we forget that too. So that was a very interesting, super interesting conversation that I learned. And I thought that it was sneaky of me to ask it. I was like, wonder what it's gonna say if I tell it that I want to make a video about this. And I was like pleasantly surprised with the answers. I feel like they were really great answers for ChatGPT talking about itself in third person. And I also really laughed at the fact that it was like, don't say the word it lies because you'll be discredited. I'm like, okay, like that's funny. Like I feel like that's a very funny thing and probably a very human thing that a person would try and cover their ass about themselves too if someone was trying to, like, if you're like forced to give somebody information about how much you suck, like you'll try and like smooth it out a little bit. So that is the fun, interesting conversation of today. And guess what? You are in luck today because it just completely blanked my mind to record a video yesterday. I was just doing a bunch of things. I wasn't even working on my passion project, which just life got to me. So today I will be recording another one later, probably before bed, and it will be about something else. I haven't decided yet what, but you guys will find out. And so stay tuned for the next video today. You are getting double the fun.